The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
I don't know if we're cool, but I certainly have a lot of respect for Joey as a person and his accomplishments, and I really appreciated the way he raced me tonight. I don't know if he tried to hit me or not. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm glad he didn't though. I appreciate it, and hopefully we can race clean, for the rest of the year.
Welcome to episode 104 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Wednesday, April 17th, 2019. I'm your host, Eric Young. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. That sure is a different tone that Truex has compared to the end of last year.
Yeah.
with Joey, after Joey beat the pants off him for the championship.
That is true. Man, I wanted to see Joey get into him and see what would happen.
Yeah, it just couldn't quite get there.
No, I feel like he could have dive bombed him, but I think Joey knew that he didn't want to take himself out as well, which he would have done if he'd have done it.
Yeah.
And he wanted to actually win it or get second, so.
Yeah. He's locked in. He's fine.
Yeah, it'd have been so much more fun, though.
I know.
We need it, man. We need something like that.
Yeah, we need a good scrap. We haven't. I mean, we had a little one earlier in the year.
Yeah,
but
qualifying is not enough. It needs to happen live at the end of a race.
Yes, sure.
That's where we need it.
I just don't know if Richmond's going to be able to deliver that one for us here, the way it's been going.
Yeah, everybody gets all hyped up about Richmond every year, and I don't get that way anymore. Richmond's just not the track.
Cars are too fast there.
Yeah.
They're still too fast.
Yeah, you want to get into that? Should we get into that right now?
I mean, we might as well.
Okay, so let me say this before let's start with this. Martin Truex Jr. won the Toyota Owners 400 Richmond Raceway this weekend. He and Cole Pearn get back to victory lane, and Truex gets his first win in Joe Gibbs equipment. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, NASCAR needs to take this high downforce package that we have on these short tracks out back and shoot it. Period. It sucks. The only track that is sort of helped at was or that it worked at was Bristol, and I don't think it helped at Bristol. I don't think it had anything to do with the package. I think it had to do with the track itself and the grippy stuff, whatever you want to call it. Every other race that this package has run has sucked, and I'm sorry. Richmond isn't historically a spectacular race lately. We've had some good moments at Richmond, but it's been really few and far between, and it's been a long time since I remember a real good one. That being said, this was worse this weekend. And yes, the ending was good. I'll give them some credit for the ending. I believe it did well in Jeff Gluck's pole. I don't think it should have, and I think it is the fault of this package. And
yeah.
I'm done with it, man. And NASCAR's sticking with it. They're not planning on changing it this season, and I hate it. We don't need more downforce.
Yeah, you and I were talking about it right before we started recording, that they're going backwards with this downforce. They keep trying to make the cars more stable, and it's not, I don't know, it's not working. You shouldn't have aero issues at Richmond,
right?
And Martinsville. I mean, we had aero issues at Martinsville. I mean, come on.
If you want to race slot cars, then let's race slot cars.
That's basically what's going on.
And at least then you can have some side by side racing. Let's just put the slots in the track, put some sticks on the front of the car, and let's race them that way.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated with it, and I don't know.
I don't know what to say. You don't know what to say. And the race was interesting mostly due to Kyle Busch's speeding penalty.
Right.
On
pit road. If it wouldn't have been for that, the race would have really sucked.
Yeah, because he was gonna stink up the show again, and Gluck's pole would have been 25% worse.
Right.
That's
at least the Kyle Busch tax. Yeah.
Jinx.
Yeah. Right.
It is the Kyle Busch tax.
Yeah.
But that's the way he's run right now, and it's. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I'm a little bit glad we're going into a weekend where we don't have a race, just to kind of hopefully set the reset button before we go to Talladega a little bit.
Yeah, I don't need a reset button though. I just want to get to Talladega. I hope Talladega doesn't disappoint.
Well,
One other thing.
Talk about Talladega, but
Yeah, one other thing I
You
want to
just don't.
mention of this package, and it's not this package specifically, but it's the new package that we're running this year with the Aeroducts and all that. You know, I don't know. I'm starting to backtrack on that a little bit too, not because of the performance, because we have seen, you know, a mixed bag of good and or
Yeah,
okay to good, not really bad, but we're not
nothing
sure
great,
yet.
Nothing great, nothing terrible. Let's say it that. I don't
Yeah.
think we've had terrible.
But I'm starting to really wonder if the solution really is to reduce the horsepower on these cars. If that's really something we should be doing. I understand why we're doing it. We're trying to bring other manufacturers into the sport. But do we have to dumb the sport down to bring those manufacturers in? If they can't compete with a 700 horsepower engine, then maybe they shouldn't be competing. You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, I don't know. I don't care how fast the car goes into the corner, but these suckers should have some power, and they should have more power than the lower series. And I guess if you're gonna neuter the lower series, then okay, do that. So and maybe that's in the plans. You know, I'm sure there's talk of that and everything.
Well, they're gonna have to. You can't bring more manufacturers on for just the Cup Series.
Right.
They're gonna have to have their own developmental programs too.
Right. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like the reducing the horsepower thing. I really feel like, you know, this is the biggest, you know, the best stock car series in the world, and I don't think they should be limited like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've been on board with that at
Right.
nauseum. Well, I mean, we've talked about it at nauseum, and I've felt that same
I've
way
gone
too.
back
But
and forth on it, but
yeah, it's hard though. I mean, we want to see the best racing possible, and right now I don't think we're getting it, and it's tough because I feel like, you know, one of the best years for competition we had was back in 2014. You know, and the cars were really fast back then, but the racing was really good too.
yeah.
And you know that's not that long ago, but you know we've played with the rules so much now, we just don't know. We kind of don't know what we're going to get every week, but also we're kind of getting the same thing at the same time.
Right.
You know, these drivers are so skilled at this level, and with the cars as easy as they are to drive, you know, we're not having any incidents. And you look at Richmond as an example, you know, Joey really didn't have a chance at Truex, even though it was a good race. You know, like you said, it would have taken a dive bomb maybe, but that's you know, I don't know, not with the way the cars are set up.
Yeah, I guess my biggest thing is you know, I'd be singing a different tune if we were this far into the season. You know, 9 races in the season, and we'd seen, you know, 7, 6, even 5 just great races that were way better than what we've seen before. But I don't think we've seen a single race that's been better than what we had in the past, than what we had last season. I don't know that we've gone way worse, but I think we've had a couple races that were worse. And again, we're only 9 races in, but we say we're only 9 races in. We're, you know, a third of the way through the season.
Well, yeah, we're almost 25% of the. We're past 25% of the way right now.
Right.
Somewhere around there. Right. We're in that spot. So
yeah. So like, I mean, we shouldn't still be figuring this out at playoff time. We should know what we've got by playoffs.
yeah.
So we're pretty far along if you look at it that way.
Yep.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't expect NASCAR to come in and make a sweeping change this season. But based on the All-Star race, it doesn't look like they're going to go backwards.
Yeah, they're not going backwards. They're going
see.
backwards from what we want.
Yeah.
They're not. They're marching on. They are marching on.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's talk a little bit more about Richmond, though. Joe Gibbs won 6 of the last 9 races. Gibbs and Penske have combined to win all the races so far this season.
Yeah.
It's quite the domination right now. I guess the first question is, who's going to be the first guy to break through that's not in one of these two teams? And is anybody can anybody compete with these guys right now? I mean, we say Penske and Gibbs has won all the races, but Penske's won 3. I mean,
yeah, I mean, Gibbs has separated over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Gibbs has separated themselves even from Penske.
Yeah.
Although, you know, Penske was there, you know, on Saturday too, but it's like we've got these, you know, we got Gibbs, we got Penske, and then we got Stuart Haas just kind of lurking lurking around,
Yep.
and it's everybody else. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, man, it's tough. Gibbs is really, I mean, all their guys are just, they're all winning. And Eric Jones is kind of, he's not running the greatest right now, but he'll get there too, I think.
We basically
So
have Stuart Haas from last year is Joe Gibbs this year.
yeah, they've upped their game.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what we have. Is it's the same deal. We've got one team that's doing the dominating with the majority of their drivers, and
Yep.
Jones has been a disappointment lately. The last couple of weeks, he's had some rough runs.
Yeah, and that's gonna. I mean, I think with all these 4-car teams, there's always one team that's for whatever reason is
right,
not quite there. But
it's hard to have 4 great teams.
I mean, Stuart Haas last year was that was the outlier when they had 4 of the last 8 in the playoffs. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
We're not going to see, we're not going to see that too often. But, and with Gibbs, you've got some great veteran talent in the best equipment. Hamlin's really stepped up his game, and now you've brought in the 2017 champ with pretty much that same 78 team over to the 19, and Truex has never won on a short track before, and lo and behold, there we are. He and Cole Pern got it done. Being with Gibbs has may have elevated them. Maybe not so much in win total so far, but they're still. You think about it, they're still coming together. It may be a lot of the same guys and the same manufacturer, but they still got to come together under the Gibbs banner. And the fact that they've already got a win now and had a really good race is kind of scary, because that team, that's the type of team with a driver that could probably take off towards the middle of the season and do a lot of what Kyle Busch is doing, and it's all Gibbs.
Yeah, it is. I think Stuart Haas is pretty close, and I think we're going to see them break back through here.
Yeah, they're not far off.
I don't know that they're off at all. I just think that Gibbs is that good right now.
Gibbs is elevated. Yep. Yeah. I mean, you're seeing the tide has risen with the entire Gibbs organization, and Stuart Haas may have slipped a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, they're there. They're not that far behind. It's not like they're Hendrick or Roush, trying to catch up right now. They're right there.
Right. Just a few stats here on the day, or I don't know if we want to call them stats, facts, whatever. Truex won the race. It's 20th victory. 486 Monster Energy Cup Series starts. First victory and 6th top 10 finish in the 2019 season. Also his first victory and 10th top 10 finish in 27 races at Richmond Raceway. Joey Logano came home second. His 12th top 10 finish in 21 races at Richmond. 6th top 10 finish in 2019 out of 9 races. Clint Boyer was the top finishing Stuart Haas car, finished third. His 15th top 10 in 27 races at Richmond, and Daniel Hemrick was the top rookie in 19th place. Kyle Busch leading your point standings by 20 points over Joey Logano after Richmond. So there you go.
There you go. Good numbers.
Winners and losers on the day. I already gave you my loser, and that's NASCAR with this package. Kyle Larson, man.
Yeah, he's in the bad luck buzzsaw right now. I don't know how much of it's him or not, but it's there's always a driver who gets a little bit snake bit, and he's got a tough hill to climb right now.
Yeah.
Last place, 37th, 1 point.
It's rough.
Yeah, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in that spot.
No. Let's see. We mentioned Kyle. Kyle ended up 8th with a speeding penalty. Led 101 laps on the day. Martin Truex Jr. led 186. So those two combined to lead most of the laps. Joey Logano led 52. Kevin Harvick, who came home 4th, led 30. Brad Keselowski, 7th place, led 31. We mentioned Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer gets a 3rd place finish. Good finish for him. Austin Dillon 6th. That's a great
nice
run for Austin.
Yeah, nice run for Austin Dillon. And Ryan Newman again in the top 10.
Yep.
That's the best that 6 car has run in a long time.
Yes.
He's showing results. It's awesome.
Definitely. One I want to point out, and I can't remember if I pointed it out last week or not, and I'm not doing it just to get under your skin.
No, he's running good too. It's the same thing as Newman.
Paul Menard,
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
10th place finish. That he has been running really well. And, I was thinking about it during the Richmond race when they were talking about him. We laughed or we're disappointed that Wood Brothers was going to go with somebody like Paul Menard, and that we kind of felt like that was, all about money and not about performance, and they were going to struggle with that. And we were bummed about that. But so far, he's done pretty darn well for him. He's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, he's got back-to-back top 10s, and he's a career, well, almost a career best, 16th place average finish right now. So he's running really well.
Yeah. Finished 9th and 10th in the stages too. So he got top 10s in all 3 stages. So not bad.
Not bad at all.
Let's see. Chase Elliott finished 15th. Anybody else really jump out to me in here? I don't think so.
No, not really. I mean, Kurt Busch just missed out on another top 10. I mean, he's still running pretty well.
Yeah.
Compared to his teammate.
Yeah. I mean, it's not difficult to run better than 37th.
Right. All the Hendrick cars are kind of bunched in. Johnson, Byron, Elliott, and Bowman all within 12th to 17th.
Yeah.
They're all in that. They're all kind of bunched up there. But
I'll give you one more winner on the weekend, and that's Mother Nature. We were pretty much expecting the Xfinity race to maybe make it to the end of the second stage to be an official race. They got all their laps in. There was tons of threat about weather. We joked about it last week that we were going to be racing on Sunday, and that didn't happen. The Cup race ran without a hitch. There was no rain, and we got the whole thing in. So
DW's vortex theory.
Yeah. I mean, it was working for the Xfinity race. They were laughing about it on the air, but I'll tell you what, the rain was coming and immediately disappearing and splitting the track when it got there. So I've seen it happen at Michigan too.
Yes. So it'll be DW's legacy in the booth.
Don't get me wrong. The vortex theory is ridiculous, but it did work out this weekend. So anything else about Richmond before we get to our Do We Care?
No, let's move on, man. Let's put it in the past.
We're sort of going to move on because the Do We Care is still a Richmond topic.
Right.
I wanted to do a quick discussion of this. There were a bunch of pre-race issues at Richmond. Let's see. I'm going to run through them here. 8 cars failed inspection for pre-race, post-qualifying suspension. 3 crew members were ejected. Let's see. Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Jimmy Johnson, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Matt Tiff, Joey Gase all got moved to the back, and some of them lost crew members, blah, 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 because of these pre-race tech inspection issues and having to go through multiple times. So, James, do we care?
Nah. We've talked about this on the podcast quite a bit too, but remember when we said, these teams were going to play nice at the beginning of the year because of the repercussions of inspections and things. They have so far, and now I think we're starting to see some of these teams really kind of push the limit a little bit. I mean, there's a good mix. There's no rhyme or reason for it either. You've got Hamlin in there who's had a ton of success this year. Other than that, I don't know. These teams are kind of pushing the issue. I feel like I kind of care, but I'm not super worried about it because they got, they ended up getting through eventually.
You know why I don't care? Because we're talking about it the day of the race and before the race and not after the race. That's why I don't care.
Right.
So I'm good with it. I mean, push it a little bit and things are going to happen. You're going to have guys that fail tech, but they need to fail tech before the race and get it figured out before the race. And we shouldn't have any of that crap after the race. And
NASCAR said, NASCAR said at the beginning of the year, these new inspection or these new penalties, taking wins away and such, it wasn't a post-race penalty thing. It was to clean up the first half of inspection before the race. And we're seeing it work right now. I think this time last year, you saw all those teams failing post-race inspection. We had the window issues, and we haven't seen any of that kind of stuff this year so far. I mean, this is the biggest list I've ever seen on Racing Reference of to the back, but it's working. It's working.
I'm good with it. So
yep, me
there
too.
you go.
Yep.
All right, let's talk some news, James. We got some news on the All-Star race tonight. We already hinted at it. They announced the package for this year's All-Star race earlier today. Yes. If you want to see the entire press release from NASCAR, It is in the show notes, which you can find at thesuperspeedway.com. So what do we got here? We have a new aero package that is supposed to give us a glimpse at the Gen 7 car. So let's see. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a single piece of carbon fiber splitter slash pan that is supposed to offer dramatic improvements in ride height sensitivity for the drivers. The technical component will provide a more stable aero platform, yuck, and create more consistent performance in traffic. Okay, that's good. Also, the car will be configured with a radiator duct which exits through the hood, as opposed to the current design which exits into the engine compartment. It's supposed to create improved aerodynamic parity and at the same time reduce engine temperatures.
Buh. You said it when you snuck that yuck in there.
Well, here's the biggest issue that I have is that the first is a single piece carbon fiber splitter. I thought we were getting rid of the splitter.
Yeah, that's what we want.
I thought O'Donnell said the splitter was going away. If we'd have taken the splitter off of this, I would be super excited.
Take the splitter and the side skirts off these bad boys. Let's go.
Yep. You know what? They're going slower now. We don't have to worry about them going airborne, so we don't need all that stuff.
It's true. It's true.
Otherwise, they've made a small adjustment to the segments. Basically, they're adding 5 laps to the last segment. So we'll have 20, 20, and hold on. Where'd it go? I lost it.
Stage 1, 20, stage 2, 20, stage 3,
15. Right?
I'm sorry, I was reading the open format.
So so am I. Yes. That's where I'm confused. I thought it didn't seem right.
The open format is 2020-10, and then the All-Star Race format is 30-2020-15.
Yep, there we go. Perfect.
4 stages.
Yes. Yellow flag laps will count stages 1 through 3. Only green flag laps count in the final stage. We'll use overtime rules in the first 3 stages. In the final stage, if it is restarted with 2 or less laps remaining, there will be unlimited attempts at a green-white checkered finish under green flag conditions. And if a race is restarted with 2 laps or less remaining, it doesn't. So the unlimited attempts at green, white, checkered finish. That doesn't tell us though if white flag means no more green, white, checker. I'm assuming that rule is the same as it is currently.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
and if they get to the white flag, it'll be over. But I don't know that
flag,
for sure.
Yep, anything after the white flag probably ends the race.
Yep.
But there's no clarification on what we're looking at. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's our all-star package. Still at Charlotte, which we kind of knew that was going to happen. I don't know.
Listen, I'm on record of being all for testing in race conditions some things that NASCAR thinks might work.
Yeah. However,
I am very much anti-stability, anti-splitter. So I don't know what to think. If they're doing a ton of testing and they're spending millions of dollars on this stuff, then boys have at it. Go out there and race it. I don't know what else to say. It's like, let's see it in a racing setting, and go from there. If it works, great. Then I'll be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that I was not a fan of them testing the aero package a couple years ago at Michigan and Indy. I'm okay with them doing it in the lower series. I don't like seeing them do it in the Cup series. And this is a way to do that in these special races that don't mean anything. And great, let's experiment. Let's see what works and what doesn't. It's the only way you're going to test these packages is to put them in race conditions. So
exactly. And what NASCAR's done is they've taken the testing from the teams, because the teams were the ones who would try a whole bunch of crap at the All-Star race, and they've said, no, we're going to throw you something completely different so we can actually test. So.
Yeah, I like that.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So I have a proposal for the All-Star race and potentially move this into future. So at California, we did they've been doing these special pace laps at different tracks. California, we did 5 wide pace lap.
The 5 wide salute.
Richmond, we did 4 wide. These guys run 3, 4, 5 wide at some of these tracks. Let's just line them up 3 wide and start them that way once.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I mean, give it a shot. The Indy 500 starts 3 wide. Why can't we do it in the Cup Series?
Charlotte would be really spooky to do that.
Yeah,
but I could see California. What
about Daytona and Talladega, man? 3 wide.
Yeah, Talladega could pull it off.
Yeah, Talladega, you could start them like 8 wide.
Daytona would be pretty tight, but yeah,
Yeah.
at Talladega they could do it. Michigan they could do it.
Yeah.
Michigan they could drop the flag at 4 wide.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't be a problem.
The other thing, we've been talking about these qualifying issues and all this, and I proposed this last season. I say the way to fix qualifying is to do the all-star qualifying every week.
Yeah, and that's not changing. It looks like that format's the same.
Yep.
Which is the best. It's the best show.
Make the pit crews make a pit stop. Let them come down pit road full speed. That's the way to do it. You will get people tuning into qualifying to see cars run, 180 miles an hour down the, pit road at Michigan.
Yeah,
they come in for it.
Yeah, they come off the corner at Charlotte to make that pit stop, and it is like watching a jet land on runway. It's insane.
The only thing that would ruin is then these guys would get good at stopping in their pit stalls, because that's the best part about Charlotte is watching them all slide through it.
Oh yeah, Tony Stewart one time, I can't remember what he had to go back. I think it was an illegal pit stop or something. He did something wrong, and he had to back up like 500 yards all the way back down pit road.
Yeah.
Like talking to the team, like, sorry guys, that was my bad.
Right.
So yeah, it was good. That's good stuff.
A couple more news items. Nashville Fairgrounds. James, take this one.
Oh my God, I am so upset. So basically, long story short, just a quick summary, and we'll have a link to the article. It's from the Tennessean. So I guess it's Nashville's home paper. Long story short, SMI went to the city and said, we want $54 million from the taxpayers to help make this whole thing happen. And that, I was talking to you before we started recording. I was furious. I don't know what the heck they're trying to do with this whole thing. I mean,
everybody's got a great idea, but everybody wants somebody else to foot the bill.
Right.
And that's the problem we have right now.
Right. And I don't understand. Here's my thing. No taxpayer should ever pay to help build an arena, build a racetrack, whatever. I think that is the biggest scam in the history of sports.
Oh, I agree. You know how much money Detroit spent money a second time to update Ford Field.
That was I was going to use Detroit as an example. Detroit, in the middle of the worst economic state in the history of of Michigan, not only redid Ford Field and did that whole thing, they built Little Caesars Arena on the back of the taxpayers when the Ilitch family has,
But hold on, James. Hold on. Little Caesars Arena, they're putting like buildings and all kinds of, they have these big plans to really I bet you don't ever see any of those apartments ever.
So that people can spend even more money down there when they go to a show.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been down there, and it's, I will say,
it's pretty.
Things are looking better.
Yeah.
There's still that rundown house on the outside of Little Caesars Arena, which is hilarious that it has a big for sale sign on it. But here's the thing: the taxpayers foot the bill for all this stuff. And in the case of Little Caesars Arena, nobody's going to games.
Right.
Check in on the Red Wings and the Pistons game one time and see
to do with the quality of the teams that are in the arena.
Right. But you pay for the stadium, you pay for the tickets, you pay for food, drinks, whatever, and the owners are just raking it in. They're making all the money. They're putting, for the little bit of money that they put towards making these stadiums happen, they get all the rewards.
Right.
The fans get nothing. The fans aren't making any money off of this. Oh, we get to root for our teams. That's great. But I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. And the same thing here with Nashville. I don't understand why a taxpayer would ever, if it was up to being voted on, why would a taxpayer be like, oh, you want us to pay $54 million to bring NASCAR into Nashville? Right. Sorry. We got other things we want.
I mean, as long as they get like free tickets and stuff to the race, then great.
Right. I mean,
that's the thing. Like but you don't, as a taxpayer, you foot that bill, you essentially partially own the track, but you don't get any profit from that. You don't get any benefit from that.
Exactly. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And and to the city's credit, they rebuffed at SMI and said, "You bring us a real proposal, and then we can start talking." So,
Right.
from the sounds of it, they this isn't going to happen this way, which is great. Good for the city for sticking up for themselves, because I don't think they should take that deal. That's
I think
terrible deal.
between this and the soccer stadium, I think these are the nails in the coffin. I don't think this ever happens.
We thought it was for sure going to happen at one point.
Yeah.
And now it's looking like, I don't know. I mean, they could just take the soccer stadium, and they would probably have enough for what they want to do with it.
Did you look at the image of the plans in that article?
Yeah, it looks great. I thought it was pretty cool myself.
Yeah, but you're talking, they're basically building a new track.
Right, it's right next to each other. Yeah, I mean the basic wireframe of the racetrack is still there, but it's completely different.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we kind of knew they were going to have to do.
Right.
Because Nashville can't possibly host a cup race, especially in the state it's in. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not so confident it's going to happen now.
Yeah, it's it's changed.
Let's put it this way: it ain't happening in 2021, guys.
Nope.
We are certainly not going to see a cup race there in 2021. There is not enough time to get this deal done.
No, it's gonna take a little more time than we thought. But
Yep.
NASCAR is fully invested in the Nashville experience right now. I mean, they moved the awards banquet there and everything. So
Right.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I don't know.
Did you really just you multitask and were talking and actually having a discussion with me and correcting the link in the show notes?
Yeah,
I'm impressed, man.
The Tennessean must have changed the URL because
Yeah, because it worked earlier.
It broke, and so I went and I fixed it. I fixed the link.
I
can
impressed,
multitask.
man. I can't do that. I would have been talking over myself.
Did I sound coherent enough?
Yeah, you sound like you knew what you're saying. That's
Hey, we have to deliver great products for the people that listen to this podcast and read the show notes.
sorry to break the fourth wall, but I thought I had to acknowledge that. All right, you get the next one too, James, since it's your buddy.
Yeah, Smoke. He rose up from the bowels of the dirt tracks and did an interview. Yeah, he doesn't do very many interviews anymore, but he did one with NBC Sports and Dustin Long. Basically, it's just a quick Q&A, but basically Dustin just asked him a bunch of questions on the state of the sport, qualifying, team ownership, how he's doing with his sprint car, and got into the nitty-gritty with him a little bit. Tony does not like young drivers and the marketing that NASCAR is putting behind them.
Of course, the old guy doesn't like the young guy.
The old guy hates it, yeah. And Tony's
the old guy with a bunch of old guys on his team. -1.
Yeah, and the old guy who looks up to even older guys too,
Right.
So, but he says basically, there's no heroes coming up the ranks, so he's not a believer in the Byrons and the Bowmans of the world.
The thing is, though, is these guys have to make themselves heroes. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
They have to have the chance to.
Right. I mean, you're not. I don't know. Dale Earnhardt isn't going to make it in the Cup Series anymore. That type of character just isn't gonna work. And I get what Tony's saying, but this is no different than the people that are like, we want the old Gen 3 car back because it raced better. It's just not going to happen. There's too many things that have changed that it's not possible to get that back, unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's another thing that you brought up a good point, because that's another thing Tony talks about in here. He said technology is advanced too far for us to ever go back to the way things were.
Once you know what downforce does, you can't avoid downforce.
Yeah, and these teams, you and I, talk about this all the time. These teams cannot police themselves. They are going to do whatever they can to stink up the show.
Exactly. That's their job. Their job is not to provide a good race. Their job is to win at all costs.
Yes, exactly. And this is where I disagree with Smoke quite a bit on this whole thing. Is these guys have to have a chance, and we may not like it, but things aren't going back to the way they were. We just have to find the new normal. And I think the sport's in a state of flux right now where we don't know what the normal is.
Right.
We're trying to shoot for the stars all the time, and we continuously miss. It's not it's not good for anybody.
We can't have Dale Earnhardt or Dale Jr. or Rusty Wallace or Tony Stewart as our heroes in this sport anymore, because they're not in the sport anymore.
Right.
So somebody else has to fill those roles. And honestly, I think part of it is that, there's that many, qualified good drivers that nobody's able to stand out. And the one that has, everybody hates, partially rightfully so, and, Jimmy is now over that hump, and he would be a fan favorite now if he started winning again. But I don't know. Like you said, these guys have to fall into that role. And yes, I do agree. And Tony is going to say this because Tony wasn't like this, but the drivers are too vanilla. They're too worried to say things that are going to upset their sponsors, but that's not their fault.
Right. It's the world that they live in.
Right. Tony,
it's a sponsorship driven sport, and money matters more now than ever as the sport has slid back into more of a minor, not so much main. They've slid out of the mainstream.
Right.
They're not the top of conversations anymore.
Tony was able to build himself a good, group of supporters because Home Depot put up with his crap.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and he came along at the right
why.
time. And
right.
He came along at the right time. The sport was at its apex.
Exactly.
When
it was
Tony
more
Stewart
important for Home Depot to be in the sport than for Home Depot to punish Tony Stewart for doing stupid crap.
Yep.
And that's it. I mean, that's all there is to it. And by the time he was done with Home Depot and moved on to other things, he was able to get by, with that. But Tony cooled off too. He wasn't the same guy by any means when he left the sport. Yes, he still got fired up at times, but he's more vocal now. He reminds me of those people that, I cover local government a lot, and you get these people that sit there and do the same thing every week. They vote things in, blah, 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 and then they get off the board, and then they talk all tough. Like they're after the next. It's like, you guys didn't do it when you were in office, so, you know. So it's really easy Monday morning quarterback, and not to poo-poo on your buddy Tony Stewart, because I love Tony, and I love this about Tony. I want Tony to keep doing this stuff.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Like how when I read this type of stuff and I read Tony all fired up, I just think about how much I miss that
right.
every week. Every week there was the possibility that Tony was going to, come unglued.
Right.
And he doesn't really come unglued in this piece. He's just stating his beliefs on where things are at. It's only a 2 or 3 minute read, but please go to the link in the show notes and just check it out if you're a fan of Smoke like I am. He does bring up some good points. I mean, he takes care of NASCAR qualifying pretty quick.
I was going to say he fixes qualifying. So let me do this real quick.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me find the right spot.
It's like the second or third question down.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yep.
You already line the cars up on pit road in an organized manner. You have a maximum speed, have a minimum speed on pit road. Once that car pulls out of its spot, it has to keep going, plain and simple. You can go anywhere in that speed range you want, but once you take off, you've got to keep going. How much more simple is it than that? Bam. Fixed.
There you go.
Qualifying fixed.
Yeah. And he says to NASCAR, you got to quit making it about you. The teams have to make the decisions.
Yep.
Which is, yep.
Well, and that's the thing is NASCAR does keep making it about them. They go and say, well, the teams are trying to stink up our show. And the teams make it about them and say NASCAR is trying to put them in a box. And, okay, well, set the parameters and just do it. And that's, I think that's been an issue. That's one of the things that's frustrating with this qualifying thing is NASCAR keeps bending and changing things. First of all, change it right. But second of all, just leave it alone and let these guys figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. NASCAR used to do a thing. It used to be Bill France Jr. And when Bill France Jr. said, this is what we were doing, guess what? That's what you were doing. And everybody listened, everybody shut up, and they did their thing.
Now.
Exactly. This driver's council and all this crap, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I was afraid of the RTA when the RTA was announced, and I don't think it has done good for the sport.
It hasn't done anything. The Drivers' Council hasn't done anything either.
No.
It really hasn't.
It's muddied the waters is all.
Yeah. Yeah. And NASCAR doesn't have an elder statesman like Stewart anymore. Like Johnson, This is the type of stuff Johnson, love him or hate him, Johnson's never going to say this.
No, and he should be. He's the guy who should be doing it.
Well, Jimmy's always been vanilla ice cream, and that's and that's nothing wrong with that. He's built an empire off of just completing a steely-eyed, focused competitor, and that's fine. Right. But we just don't have when Stewart retired. Junior wouldn't go out of his way to say a lot of this stuff either. There was always a transition from Earnhardt to even Gordon would go out there once in a while. Earnhardt, Gordon, and Stewart, but now we just don't have that one guy right now.
Yep. Yeah, that is something we need. We really do need that.
I feel like Kyle Busch. I think Brad Keselowski tries, but he's just not. He doesn't have that kind of pull.
Kevin Harvick tries too.
He does too.
And,
Harvick does try.
Harvick is probably the closest to this. I think it was Corey LaJoy during Jeff Gluck's 12 Questions that mentioned it, that Harvick's one of those guys that NASCAR listens to. If Harvick says something, they tend to listen a little bit more. And that's true. I mean, Harvick does have a lot more pull, it seems, than a lot of drivers. Harvick to me comes across kind of whiny, and I guess the biggest thing for me with Harvick is Harvick does it in the media. He does it on his show instead of going to NASCAR and doing it.
Yep.
And so I think that bothers me, is that he's kind of taking the passive aggressive approach to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't like that, though I tend to be a passive aggressive person myself, so I should be okay with it. But
a lot of athletes are passive aggressive. I mean, the LeBron James is the most passive aggressive person on the face of the earth, and he's got a ton of pull. So that's the way things are, I feel like, these days.
Yeah. So I guess you can have the last one too, James, since you put it in here. And it's your deal.
It's my deal. So I was all in on Monday when Johnson ran the Boston Marathon. I had him on my tracker and was following along, and he did phenomenal.
Nice.
Did phenomenal. He was on pace. So he set the goal of 3 hours, which is, I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine running that far.
How many miles is a marathon?
It's 26.2 miles.
Okay.
And to run sub 3 hours, you have to average about a 6:52, 6:53 pace per mile. So think about how fast that is. If you try to run a mile and see how fast you can run a mile, and he has to continue that the entire way.
How many days do I have?
Right, exactly. I feel the same way. But so anyway, he was on pace for quite a while. He started to slow down a little bit towards the middle of the race, and then in Boston, there is a very famous part of the race between mile 20 and 21 called Heartbreak Hill, and it's basically a mile uphill, and it comes at a point in the race where your body is just begging for you to quit. And Johnson struggled a little bit at Heartbreak Hill, but got through it and ended up finishing at a 3:09, which is just, I mean, at his age and everything else he has going on, just phenomenal. And the running community, God bless them, they really embraced him. They had him on TV. They welcomed him to the race and just kind of made a big deal of him participating. He said he had fans all across the course cheering him on, recognizing him. Just a really nice goodwill thing that he kind of did to boost up the sport, because there's millions of people in Boston for this thing. I mean, it's the biggest. It is the biggest race in the world for runners. So I know he's really proud. He should be. And I'm proud of him, man. That's a great accomplishment. Really great.
So Racing News has an article up here. He says, I tried to hold a sub 3, but knew at halfway I was in trouble. I pulled it back and worried about finishing at that point. He says, after the race, he says, I'm finding the stairs quite challenging today. Other than that, I'm on cloud 9. Yeah. So he's officially qualified for next year's running.
Yeah. Yeah. So he can do it anytime he wants now. He doesn't need a sponsor's exemption. So he's locked in.
He finished 4,183rd.
I mean, that's
3,765 for his gender.
Yeah. He is such a beast. I mean, If people don't think NASCAR drivers are athletes, this is a heck of an example to take a look at.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's not even human.
No, he's not human.
Everything about him is not. I'm quite convinced he's a robot.
Yeah, I've done him, and he said, something he said really stuck out to me and validated my experience running the marathon last year. I didn't run. I should clarify. I did not run the Boston Marathon. I'm nowhere near fast enough. But he said it was the hardest thing he's ever done, like physically ever done.
Right.
And I when I ran the marathon, I had some issues getting towards the end of the race. Just, it was like 90 degrees and you get to the late stage of the race and you're already dehydrated.
Right.
So that type of heat really takes a toll on you. And I thought it was, at that time I thought, man, maybe I wasn't prepared or not. But to the fact that Jimmy Johnson said that that this accomplishment is the hardest thing he's ever done. Kind of validated my experience too, and it's just a great example to look at. For fitness and people who are in that kind of into that kind of thing is, I don't know, man. I was really rooting for him, and he knocked it out of the park. It was just really cool.
That's pretty cool. Good for
Yeah.
Jimmy. Good for Jimmy.
Hope to see more drivers doing things like this too. I mean, and he wasn't even the only guy from Hendrick Motorsports who ran. There was one of the guys who was on the engine building team who was there too. So
yeah. Well, speaking of that, something we didn't mention in the news, you said you hope to see more guys do things like this. This is not quite the same vein, but there is talk that Kyle Busch's new contract with Joe Gibbs allows him to run the Indy 500.
Yeah, I've read that as well.
Yeah, so wouldn't that be interesting?
I love the extracurricular stuff.
I'd love to see both brothers run the Indy 500.
He's going to run the Indy 500.
Oh yeah, he is. He wants to. That's going to happen. That's what new contracts are for. You negotiate that type of stuff.
Done everything in NASCAR he could do.
If you're at a point to negotiate a contract and you're Kyle Busch, and you go to Joe Gibbs, Joe Gibbs he's not gonna say, sorry, if you want that in there, you can go find another team.
Right.
Kyle's not going anywhere.
Kyle's at his apex.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If Joe Gibbs gets rid of Kyle Busch, he is an idiot.
Yes. Yes. And people, you brought up another good point with that too, or made me think of a good point. People get on Jimmy Johnson and get on Kyle Larson sometimes for the extracurricular activities that they do, whether it's driving on dirt or like Jimmy, you're into fitness or you're riding your bike. Jimmy was doing an interview with Michael Waltrip and said, really running takes time and it takes a lot of effort to train. But he said most of these guys are out golfing and, fishing or whatever. And he said that takes more time than getting in a training run.
Right.
If Jimmy wants to, needs to do a 10-mile run, that's, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Compared to being on the golf course for 4 hours. So, people just need to settle down. I mean, these guys have lives outside of racing too.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. Like, okay, so if you're on my side and you don't want to shorten the season up, then let these guys do some fun stuff too. If they've got to go, balls to the walls every single week, all week long, then that 36 race season is grueling. It's a lot more grueling. But if they can do things like this that they want to do, then great. That if that gets them to keep going, awesome. Let them do it.
Yeah.
Quit worrying about what these guys do in their personal time, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Let them have lives.
Yeah.
And doing cool things like this. I mean, the Jimmy Johnson doing this race, believe me or not, raised the profile of NASCAR.
Yeah.
It's a great thing that he did, and
well,
hopefully he opened.
There's a lot of argument about whether drivers are athletes, and not every driver is an athlete.
Yeah.
Not every driver can go and run a marathon, and most can't. But let's and I don't remember which show it was. It was one of the serious shows was talking about it, and it's a good example. So Tiger Woods, he's an athlete, right? He just won the Masters. How athletic do you have to be to play golf?
Right.
Tiger doesn't run, on the golf course. He walks.
It's a different kind of athleticism.
Exactly. Now, does being athletic help him? And yeah, then great, but he doesn't. And that's so like this whole, drivers aren't athletes. Well, yeah, some of them aren't as athletic as other people, but it's still, athleticism helps in this sport. And it's no different. I mean, look at a football quarterback. How much running do they actually do?
Not much.
They take a ball and they throw a ball,
Well, baseball pitcher's a great example.
Yeah. Baseball in general is a great example. How much running do you actually do in baseball? It's mostly standing around.
Exactly.
So, and that's not to hit on, go against any of these sports. They all take their special skills. It's not to say Tiger Woods isn't skilled. It's not to say Tom Brady's not skilled, but skill and athleticism are different.
All sports are different.
Yep.
NASCAR is the same. One of the same. I'm glad you brought up Tiger Woods because I'm so glad there wasn't a NASCAR race on Sunday. But because I was for the record, I was all in. I love the Masters. I was rooting for Tiger. I don't
even care.
Well, I had Tiger. I know Tiger was on the Masters, and then Game of Thrones was on at night. Sunday was a heck of a day. I don't know if I could have handled the NASCAR race.
So you're also responsible for the winter weather we got Sunday. The whole winter is coming crap.
No, I don't say. I'm not a super nerd. I just like the TV show.
All right.
Here's something that happened that I wanted to talk to you about before this is, and we're going to talk about Talladega in a second.
Yeah.
So the Masters, the biggest tournament in golf,
Yep.
outside of maybe the British Open. There was bad weather coming in, and they knew about it. And guess what? They took their final round and said, you know what? We're going to move this ahead 3 hours and start at 7 o'clock in the morning rather than 10 o'clock.
Right.
And guess what? The TV ratings were fantastic. People tuned in, and they were able to get the full show in, and they had the great moment with Tiger winning the Masters, and was fantastic. Which made me think NASCAR always gives us crap all the time about they can't move times around for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Masters is moving times around, BS NASCAR.
Yep.
You can move times around if you see bad weather coming. That's
Agreed.
my quick soapbox.
I can't argue with you. That's 100% accurate.
I watched, the first thing I thought of was, they moved the Masters start time for the final round, and you're telling me we can't do anything with the Cup Series on a Sunday?
Yep. Ridiculous.
Anyway,
especially when I've been on the inside at a Cup weekend, and yes, there's stuff with tech inspection and everything. There's a lot of standing around and waiting on Sunday morning. A lot.
God.
It would be, and then okay, so not only that, but we wait till the rain stops to start driver intros. Come on. Driver intros to me is like baseball warm-ups before a game. They got to spend an hour warming up before they play the game. Warm up in the back, man. Like if rain's coming, skip the driver intros. Come on.
Nobody cares. They want to see the cars on the show. You think anybody cares about the drivers walking out into a stage and waving and sitting in the back of a pickup?
Not when rain's coming.
No, get the race on.
I mean, when the rain isn't coming, then yeah, it's great. It's awesome to see the drivers drive by in a pickup in front of you when you're sitting in the stands.
You're not losing the value of the ticket by not doing driver intros.
But you are if you miss half the race because it rains out.
God dang, I'd love to get Steve O'Donnell in a room and ask him that question.
Yeah.
Steve, they moved the Masters. You can't move a race in Kansas.
You know what the difference is? How much money does the Masters make from the TV networks, and how much money does NASCAR make from the TV networks?
Yeah, that's one day. The Masters probably rakes in a ton. NASCAR's got massive TV deals. I understand. Yeah. I understand the TV portion of it, but
it isn't because of feasibility. It's because of where the dollar's coming. That's the reason that it can't happen.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. All right. Now we're both off our soapbox.
We are off the soapbox.
So we're going to talk Talladega. I know it's more than a week away. We're going to take next week off because of Easter, unless something breaks and there's something worth actually getting on a podcast for. We'll do a short one next week. Otherwise, we're going to take a week off and we'll get back to you after Talladega. But that means we get to talk about Talladega and we get to make our picks. Saw a picture yesterday or today of the giant spoiler on the back of the cars for Talladega.
How tall? 13? Is it 13 inches?
Something like that. It's ridiculous. I hope to heck that this race is good, because if they ruin Talladega, I'm gonna be so freaking disappointed, because I love Talladega. But yeah. So it is the Geico 500 Talladega Super Speedway next weekend, not this weekend. James, you get the first pick.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do. I don't even have the racing. I decided I'm not even gonna look at the racing reference page.
You're gonna just wing it, huh?
Well, this is new. So we are not running restrictor plates anymore at Talladega and Daytona. So it's not a restrictor plate track anymore. I don't know what the heck we're going to call it.
Yeah. These
Speedway?
Stats mean nothing.
Stats, I think at this point, the stats don't mean much. They do not mean much. I always tend to go with Brad Keselowski. And I think for safety purposes, I'm going to pick him.
Okay.
But again, we don't know what we're going to get. But Brad's been the Pied Piper for a while now. So I'll take a safe pick and go Brad Keselowski, even though I really like somebody else, but I'm not going to say who it is because I think you might probably pick him.
Interesting. It'd be interesting if I do. So yeah, I'm with you. There's really no reason to look at the stats. I'm going to throw stats out the window. I'm going to go Jamie McMurray. Oh wait, no.
Is he running?
No. I'm going to go Kurt Busch.
Caught me off guard. Yeah, that'd be good. He's been really good there.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a restrictor plate win except for the Daytona 500, right?
Yeah, I think so. He's
one of the great restrictor plate racers and only has the one restrictor plate win to his resume.
Yeah, I really don't have any reason to go with Kurt. His name just jumps out at me, and I'm going that direction. I don't know.
Yeah.
No real.
Some guys historically that maybe we should just quickly mention though. Logano, I thought you might go Logano.
Yeah.
He's always been good there.
Choice.
Clint Boyer has had really good runs at Talladega.
Kyle Busch is a good choice too. I mean, I almost went Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle could be really good. And we didn't mention our 500 winner, Denny Hamlin, but again, a lot of his restricted play wins are with restricted play, so we don't know what the heck to do.
Yeah, I think Joey Logano is a pretty safe pick too.
Yeah, he's really good at restricted plate racing too. He's, again, we don't know.
Well, and this is one of those weeks when your dark horse pick could actually take the win too.
Stenhouse. Say Stenhouse.
Yeah, I'm gonna go dark horse. I get the first dark horse pick. I'm gonna go Ty Dillon on it. This one I am going by stats. Ty's got good stats at Talladega. He's also a Dillon, so yeah. I like that. So I'm going Ty Dillon as my dark horse.
I'm going with somebody I really liked at Daytona, and who, if things work out, maybe he can pull it off. Matt DiBenedetto.
Okay, good.
I'll make you spell his name again, but
jeez,
you're probably getting good at it.
Did I get it right?
That's pretty close.
It's right. I just need to capitalize the B.
There you go.
Nice. I got it now. Enough
yeah,
time
but
to
he was.
type
Remember
this.
how good he was at Daytona? I mean, he led a ton of laps. So
yeah, and this is the type of race that could really turn his season around, I guess, or really put him on the map. So,
yep.
Yeah, I like that. Shout outs. James, I think the shout out you have in the notes is from last week, isn't it?
Yeah, we do have last week's shout outs in there. So I don't know.
I got this week's on there actually. This week is mine on there. So
there you go. Well, I don't have one this week, so I'm gonna let you take it.
All right. Well, I pointed out all the Dirty Mo media stuff last week, but Clint Boyer was on the Dale Jr. download this week, and I've only had a chance to listen to about 20 minutes of it, 15, 20 minutes of it, but it's already pretty much like the best radio I've ever listened to ever. Clint's just great, and they're trying to convince him to do a podcast. And I think that would be the best thing ever. I would listen to that as soon as it came out, I would start listening to it. There's nothing better than listen to Clint talk. So yeah, if you want a good entertaining listen to the Dale Jr. download this week and Clint Boyer, and pretty much just add it to your subscriptions and just listen to it all the time because it's a good show.
Clint Boyer, if he was ever to host a podcast, there would have to be a 2-beer minimum before the podcast starts for Clint and anybody else who comes on the podcast.
Right. Yeah.
And he'd knock it out of the park.
I don't think Clint needs a beer to be.
Dude, he's entertaining as heck, man.
Oh man, he's so good. Can you imagine a Clint Boyer championship? Remember Brad Keselowski drinking the beer on Wind Tunnel?
Yeah, and Sports Center, yeah.
Clint Boyer doing that after the championship. Man.
Right? Brad Keselowski was full blown buzzed on ESPN.
Was. Oh yeah, boy,
it's fantastic.
He announced that he was drunk.
Oh yeah, and he's drinking out of a boot. Great.
That was good stuff. Fantasy League. Let me pull up the old Fantasy League results, which I don't want to look at.
I got them right here.
Yeah.
So Richmond Raceway, our good pal Ranger Runyon, he brought it home, 242 points. He's number one. Freight Train second. Justin 713 was third, and me and you were pretty close. I was fourth. You were fifth.
Yeah, you're gaining on me though.
I'm making some gains. Hurricane Ditka sixth, and Scoters in seventh, and then the overall leaderboard, Justin 713 continues to lead, but it's pretty close. It's got Freight Train right behind him and Ranger Runyon in third. Hurricane Ditka is fourth, and then you are fifth, and I am 100 points behind you.
I know you're getting closer. I don't like it.
Inching my way forward. I had Larson in my starting lineup and had to do something about that after I saw he crashed.
I'm pretty sure I had him in mind too and moved him out. But I had Kyle. I went all in on JGR. I think I had Kyle, Denny, and Truex in mind.
Yeah, I had Truex too, which was ended up being a good pick. Yeah, sealed the deal. Yeah, go with JGR every week. You'll be fine.
Exactly. I think I feel like I need to change my strategy because I've been trying to pick a good driver and then a couple okay drivers. See, I had Chris Buescher too this week, and that didn't help me out any. I got talked into it by the fantasy people, listen to the fantasy shows, and I should have done that. But so I've been trying to mix it up, and I think I just need to take one of these weeks and just throw everything at it because I think that's what everybody else is doing. I feel like at some point in the season, everybody's going to run out of the good drivers, and then I'm going to start moving my way back up the ladder.
Yeah, you gotta. It's weird. This league is just totally different than anything I've ever done. So
I don't know if I'm a fan. I know I talked you into this, but I don't know if I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'm not used to having this many good drivers at one time, but I think for Talladega, my strategy might be I'm going to save some starts and go with some guys who might not get starts during the season.
I'm leaning that direction too. I think so.
We'll see. I don't know.
I might take one guy based on qualifying, and then everybody else just
right. I feel like I'm starting to figure the league out a little bit, but it took me a while.
Glad you are.
It's
I
been
feel
tough.
like I'm going the opposite direction.
Ranger
so.
Runyon, I think he might have missed a week, and he's been flying.
Yeah,
dominating.
he's up to third now. Yeah, he's only 1 point out of second.
Yeah, so good job by him.
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to boot him anyway. Let's see. Anything else, James? We need to talk about before we close this sucker out.
Oh, happy Easter, everybody!
There you go.
We're gonna take the week off, like you said, but yeah, if anything does come up, we'll hop on, do a little micropod or something. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Did you check out the annual Peeps 400 from NASCAR Chasm?
No, I didn't see the Peeps 400. I'll have to go check that out.
So NASCAR Chasm does a thing, and I kind of skipped through the video because it was a little longer than it needed to be. But he does a thing where he takes a bunch of Peeps and draws the driver's numbers on them, and then puts them on a plate and runs them in the microwave for 7 minutes. And the one who is the most recognizable when it's done is the winner. I think Denny Hamlin got the win this year, if I remember correctly. I don't, not to spoil it for anybody. If you want to check it out, go to NASCAR Chasm's YouTube channel. It's pretty entertaining. And you kind of have to appreciate his humor, and then sometimes it's too much.
So dang consistent with it. I know, it's crazy.
So,
the fact that he's able to do what he does so often.
Yeah.
Do the Peeps really? Here's my off the wall question.
Yeah.
Do the Peeps really expand when they're in the microwave?
Yeah,
they
kind of blow up and then melt down.
Because I remember watching South Park many years ago. They had an Easter episode, and
South Park is definitely the example you want to use.
Exactly.
For reality.
Yes, exactly. Well, there was a scene where they threw the Peeps in the microwave, and people were screaming and Peeps were exploding out of the microwave. And I was wondering, do Peeps really explode in the microwave? I was just kind of curious.
His didn't explode, but they definitely
poof.
Yeah, they definitely got bigger.
Are you pro Peeps or anti Peeps? It's a hot debate this time of year during Easter.
I can do a Peep every now and then. I mean, pretty much I enjoy the sugar part of the Peep and not the marshmallow part.
Do you know when Peeps are their best? When you crack open the container and you leave it open for like 360 days, and then you come back.
Peeps 400.
There you go.
The Great American Peep Racing Spectacle, brought to you by Martinsville Hot Dog Flavor Peeps. You should probably just not. Take it away, Blake.
There you go.
Okay, I gotta find. There's a part in here where forget who it is. Oh, it's Michael Waltrip. He's doing the grid walk, and he does a pretty good Michael Waltrip impression. Let me find it here. Here we go.
How's your Peep?
Kind of sounds like him.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex, Michael Waltrip. How's your Peep? Hey, Pete, Denny, want a taco? Oops. Oh, no.
Yeah, I dropped the taco on Denny's Peep.
That's really Michael Waltrip. I'm convinced that's
I don't think so.
No?
So yeah, let me scan forward here and make sure I had the winner right. Was it? No, maybe it was Blaney. Hold on, here we go.
But with a slightly more intact peak, Joey Logano.
Oh, Joey Logano
is your
got the win.
2019 Peeps 400 winner.
Wow, that can go right up next to his
Peep War.
Yeah.
That can go right next to his Monster Energy Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's another shout out for you. Go check out NASCAR Chasm and the Peeps 400.
It's great.
All right, James, if they want to find you during the week, how can they find you?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. You can find us on the web at thesuperspeedway.com. You'll find the show notes there, links to the articles that we discussed. I will throw the link to the Peeps 400 into the show notes as well because I don't have them in there yet. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud, wherever you found us today. We hope you subscribe and continue to listen. If you want to become a patron and support what we're doing and help us get to do some more things, maybe get to the track more, get some better equipment, although we got some pretty good equipment. We're doing good on the equipment front. Anyway, help us out at patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. We go to Talladega Superspeedway next weekend. We get a weekend off this weekend for Easter. And I believe it is a straight up all around off weekend for NASCAR, right? There is no NASCAR race this weekend.
I think you are correct, but I am 90% sure.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
I leak confidence all the time on this podcast and try not to show it.
Hey, before we jump out of here, let's just stretch this out a little bit longer. We're only at an hour and 4 minutes right now, so let's see if we can stretch it out a little bit. So a lot of people want us to run a street course in NASCAR, right?
I heard about that.
Did anybody watch or at least stay awake for the long Beach Grand Prix, whatever the heck it's called, Grand Prix. Of
All
Long
I know
Beach.
is there was a car that ended up in the flowers.
Did they? Oh, I didn't see that. I will have to watch the highlights of that.
That's all I know.
I've been waiting for somebody to crash through the
I know.
flowers in forever. Yeah, like a 20-some second victory, I believe, for your winner.
Rossi.
Yeah,
Rossi won. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the whole street course thing. I heard some people argue that the Pinty series does it, and the Euro series I think does it, but those guys run like late models. They're not like our Cup cars. I don't think our Cup cars have any business being on a street course.
Gluck and Nate Ryan were pretty excited about it on Gluck's post-race podcast.
Of course they were. Gluck's a wannabe IndyCar fan anyway. I'm joking because I like IndyCar, so don't hate on me for dissing Gluck. I'm also on the same boat. So I don't know. Maybe just the Grand Prix of Long Beach isn't the place to do it. That track historically isn't that great anyway. It's the spectacle and the event more so than the actual race. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think there's a place for it. So
put the F1 cars out there, see how they do.
There you go. All right, I guess that's it. We go Easter racing this weekend and then to Talladega next weekend, and we will be back after Talladega to talk about it some more. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.